This is an octave. And it's given us some of the most recognizable melodies and guitar riffs of all time. Due to the mathematical relationship between the tones, our brains perceive octaves as one note, despite their differences in pitch. This creates some incredible opportunities for sonic sorcery in your guitar playing, songwriting, and production. If you've ever felt stuck in one spot on the neck, octaves and octave mapping is your ultimate cheat code to break out of a rut and level up your guitar playing. So let's dive right in. In this video, we're going to unlock how octaves work across the guitar neck, and more importantly, how you can actually use them musically. You'll get 5 examples that span everything from riff to melody, modern prog style open string octave tricks, full fretboard runs, and more, complete with tabs and backing tracks to help you practice and level up your guitar playing. So what is an octave really? Octaves occur every 12 semitones. On a piano, that's 12 keys. On a guitar, same concept. Play any fret, jump up 12 frets, and you have the same tone pitched up an octave higher. Unlike the piano, however, there are actually 3 primary ways that we can play octaves on the guitar. That 12 fret jump has limited applications. To actually play with octaves the way the pros do, you need to know how they work across the strings. This is the second method, so let's learn a simple trick. If you're an intermediate player and already understand where octaves are located on the fretboard, you can skip ahead to the next chapter. To find an octave, pick any note on the low E or A strings. Move up by 2 frets and skip over 1 string. That's an octave. Now, we can just continue the pattern from there, right? Not quite. Stay with me. In standard tuning, the guitar is tuned in fourths, with one exception, the major third between the G and the B strings. This is a compromise in standard tuning that allows us to play melodies and chords on the guitar, but means we'll need to move up by 1 additional fret when playing an octave on the B or high E strings to compensate for that shorter interval between the strings. So if the top note of your octave is on the B or E strings, move up by 3 frets instead of 2. You can follow this pattern to play octaves anywhere on the neck. And I've included a bonus exercise linked in the description below to help you get started as your eyes and fingers adjust to how these octaves are laid out across the fretboard. Finally, in some cases, you can play an octave using an open string like this. More on that later. So each option has its own unique sound and application. 12 frets apart on the same string is great for tapping and loose rock riffing. Across the string should be your go-to for tight riffing and melodic lines. And open string octaves bring a unique texture and sound to more modern styles, which we'll explore in example 3. We're gonna start off simple with an octave riff. This example follows the riff rock playbook from Sabbath to Rage Against the Machine. Using the G minor pentatonic scale, we alternate between the high and low octaves on the root note. And on the second repeat, play both octaves at the same time, creating the illusion of a single, more formidable sounding note. When you want a punchy sound that's direct and free of other harmonic color, this is the way. Now let's look at how we can begin to use octaves in a lead guitar context. This is an extremely effective way to use octaves in your guitar playing, by taking a clean melodic line or lick and doubling it up with an octave on top. To keep things comfy, I've kept this example again in the pentatonic scale so we have a good, solid home base to work from. This example, while maybe not as flashy as the others, is extremely important in helping us overcome 2 primary challenges presented by playing with octaves. First, visualizing the fretboard when playing with octaves in this way can be an adjustment. You might find yourself getting lost even when playing a simple scale or phrase you've already mastered with single notes. My advice is to focus your eyes on the lower octave. Just keep your gaze on your first finger and let the pinky come along for the ride. This way your eyes and brain aren't trying to track 2 fingers at once. The second challenge is to keep the fingers correctly spaced when transitioning between notes. Because the frets get narrower moving up the neck, it's easy to overshoot and end up playing a minor 9 by accident. And conversely, when descending, the frets obviously get wider, which means you might come up short and play a major 7th as your fingers adjust to the spacing. The only antidote for this is slow and controlled practice. So take your time and play along to the slow example a few times before making a full speed attempt if in doubt. Example 3 comes straight from the modern guitar playbook, players like Tim Henson and Ichikanito. We're combining a fretted note with the matched open string, in this case using the low E to play a B note on the 7th fret and doubling that up an octave higher with the open B string. This is enharmonically the same as playing the B octave skipping strings between the 2nd and 4th frets on the A and G strings. Use your middle finger to pluck the open B, and for the fretted note on the low E, use your 2nd finger. We'll need our 3rd and 4th fingers to be available for the next part of the riff, as we pedal or move back and forth between the fretted notes and the B octaves. Next, there's a really cool 12th fret harmonic on the B string. This is actually a 2-octave leap from the B note on the low E, which gives us another creative use for using octaves when riffing or soloing. For the second part of the phrase, we're gonna look at an octave spacing that's kind of an honorary mention, playing the open D string along with the 7th fret on the G string. And you can apply this octave position across the other strings as well. Finally, the lick concludes with a G octave on the 3rd fret of the low E and the open G string. Again, use your middle finger to pluck the open string on your picking hand. Now that we've learned to use octaves in the literal sense, let's broaden our horizons. You don't always have to play both notes in the octave together. Instead, we can use the octaves as a map. I'm the map. This is the gateway to octave-based phrasing, where you think of octaves not as notes to play, but as locations around which you can build repeating ideas. To illustrate this, let's take a basic major triad, root, 3rd, and 5th, and walk it up the neck using octave mapping. We simply repeat this 2-string arpeggio 1 octave at a time, beginning on each new octave according to the pattern that we learned earlier. This spreads our idea across 3 octaves, giving us a fluid cascade that sounds like a pianist doing a fast run across the keys. So there's the concept, but what can we do to make it not boring? Here's the key. We'll build a more ambitious lick around the triad. This makes it sound less like a drill and more like an actual musical idea. Using a 4-note major 7 arpeggio and some legato phrasing, we can build an 8-note sequence, descending through our octave map. For extra practice, you can try this on your own time with other arpeggios or scale fragments like a minor 7th. Now, let's get into more is more territory and conquer the final wave of this octave onslaught with this neoclassical burner straight from the shred prophet himself, Yngwie Malmsteen. I'm breaking this down into 2 levels, intermediate and advanced. Focus on nailing the intermediate idea first, and revisit the video later if you need time to work up the advanced version. So the final boss lick is really just a bonus. So building on example 4, we can continue to use octave mapping with entire scales, like the first 6 notes of the A natural minor scale, ascending and descending. This example combines the scale with some riffing and muted chugging for a classic metalcore rhythm part, locked in, tight, and anthemic. Now for the final boss. If we apply some blazingly fast phrasing to this 3-octave run and use the A harmonic minor scale variant, we get this absolute behemoth of a lick, which I'll leave you with for today. Chew on that one. Don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what you want to learn next.